What made me decide to get help was I had a cocaine and alcohol addiction, and I had an intervention on myself. I asked family to get together, and it didn't work out, and I talked to my wife about it, and one day she brought me down to Thelma McMillan Center. I walked in the door, and I knew I was right where I belonged, and I fell in love with the place. It was just great, and that's where my journey began.
When Jim came to me and said he had this very expensive and very large and out-of-control habit, cocaine habit and alcohol problem, I knew about the alcohol but not about the cocaine. And he told me he would quit on his own, which he tried to do. And once it became apparent that he couldn't, he came to me and said, I need help. And it happened to be that a couple days earlier I'd called a girlfriend and asked her to do some investigating for me about what treatment centers my insurance covered, and one of them was Thelma McMillan. And the phone call here was what started our journey and the life-saving help that we got here. And I'd never heard of it. I knew Torrance Memorial had a program, but I'd never heard about Thelma McMillan. And so the day after Thanksgiving 2008, I called here early in the morning and spoke with Joanne, and she said, be here at 1, we'll get you guys signed up. And that's what we did. And we came back that night and did meetings, and no turning back after that. It was amazing. And after I talked to Joanne, I knew that I wasn't going to make any more phone calls. This was the place we were going to go to. And we both felt at home when we came here. We were just welcomed. We were treated like we weren't bad people. You're kind of scared to ask for help, but they never made us feel bad or that we'd done something wrong. It was just, welcome, you're here. This is your new life.
I think we both knew we were at home.
Yeah. I think the part of treatment at Thelma that helped me the most was the family group, which was for family members of the patients, where we got to have an open forum to talk about our feelings, telling them things I couldn't tell anybody else. And then the meetings where we learned about alcoholism, we learned about the disease, we learned that we were not alone. And we also had groups where we met, the two of us, with a counselor. And the counselor would dive into things going on between us that I would never, ever want to share with anybody, or even share with Jim. I was so closed down and shut down about talking about my feelings. And the counselor was able to bring those things out, and we could talk about them in a safe place to each other without fear of anger or hurting each other. It was a very safe place to deal with very hard issues.
Why did I continue to come to Thelma after I graduated? It's real simple. I was terrified. I was terrified of my addiction. I was afraid of the world. I found out that I had PTSD and other symptoms as well. And I knew Thelma McMillan was a safe place for me to go to talk about what was going on with me. My counselor, my gender group counselor, was a great, great man. I'm still in touch with him. It was just amazing for me to get to be a part of that, and that was a safe place for me to go to. Why did I continue to come to Thelma after I graduated? It was real simple. I was terrified of the world. I was terrified of my addiction. I had been addicted for 99% of my adult life. Terrified of the world and terrified of relapse. So I knew if I went back every week, I was going to be able to see my counselor, which he knew everything about me, and I knew him really, really well, and it was starting to turn into a friendship more than just a counseling. And Thelma McMillan was my home. It's where I felt safe to be.